Now, something that's quite interesting is that the oldest of the small cubs was seen at a kill yesterday, and the kill was in the area of a male leopard. Now, it's obviously dangerous for cubs to be heading into these hot zones where they could be coming up against lion or leopard. And the fact that there's been no sign of it this morning is obviously a bit of a concern. That's not to say it's not here or not elsewhere. It could be back at the other den sites, and maybe only half of the hyena have moved in here and the other half are still debating what to do. These strange things do happen in nature, and we are just going to have to monitor it closely, but at this stage we do not know where the oldest of the two cubs is. What we can see here, though, is some fierce competition between the cubs, and they will compete fiercely for nursing. But it appears that the mother is not interested in allowing them to nurse, or it certainly wasn't initially. Although now she seems to be giving in. And the one cub is obviously slightly low down in the hierarchy, because it's just lying there watching its brother or sister drink. Okay, it's coming in, the second one, so let's see what happens here. There may be a bit more fighting and tussling. Or are they all going to relax and look at the mother? She's completely, that's hilarious. She was scratching her back there for a second. She was completely lying flat on her back. And she can't seem to make up her mind. Possibly it's the discomfort from her bulging belly that's filled with kudu that's preventing her from getting comfortable in a nursing position. Probably doesn't help having two cubs jumping on her stomach either. So, some of the viewers are asking whether the kudu leg was the remains from an animal that died of natural causes that we found 2 days ago. And just to clarify to everyone, it wasn't a kudu that died of natural causes. It was the cousin of the kudu, a bushbuck, which is considerably smaller than a kudu, but part of the same spiral-horned antelope family. In this area we have the bushbuck, the inyala, and the kudu. And the bushbuck's legs would have been gobbled up. They're a lot thinner and easier to crunch through for hyenas. But just to let you guys know, it wasn't the same animal that we found that had died of natural causes. Well, I think we've had a great sighting here at the hyena den site, but I'm getting tempted to move on and see what else is out there. There's lots of other characters that we can have a look at out here. And I think we've had some great action seeing the sub-adult take away the kudu leg from the youngsters. And you can hear them now chittering and chattering, trying to get a good spot for nursing, but as soon as they do get comfortable, all we're going to be seeing is sleeping hyena slowly suckling on their mother's milk. So it's not going to be highly entertaining, and I think we should go and have a look and see what else is out there. An update on Brent. He has been trying his best to find these lion, and he's been spending a lot of time on foot fence. He's still following up on them, but I don't know exactly where the tracks are heading towards. Please can you get an update for me? Thick area where Brent is in and around Buffelshoek Dam, so if the lions have moved off the road, it can be slow going trying to establish where they are, because it's very thick. It means there's lots of hiding places and easy to not see them, but it also means Brent will have to move cautiously, with the concern of bumping into other threats, not just the lion, but buffalo or elephants. Just got a question through from a fellow South African called Spusiso. Good morning, Spusiso, and welcome on board. Spusiso's interested to know and clarify. He's heard that hyena are actually more closely related to cats, and that's correct, but they're not in the cat family and they're not in the dog family, so they've fitted into their own family called the Hyenidae family, and then you get Canidae for the dogs and Felidae for the cats. So you are 100% correct, Spoo, and it is quite remarkable because when you look at hyena, you would immediately associate them to be more dog-like than cat-like, but there's obviously various parts of the internal anatomy that are similar to a cat and not to a dog. But a very, very unique animal that has essentially come up with its own family, which is very unique. Could you ask Brent to either give you the location of the last track so I can update the gun drop channel, or he can do it? This is working. Well folks, the good news is Brent is going to have an update for you on those tracks. He's back on the vehicle, so we'll catch up with you a little bit later.
Welcome back everyone. As you can see, the sun's out a little bit. No such luck with these lines just yet, so I'm pretty confident they're in this block behind me over my shoulder here. It looks like they chased something. From what I can see, it looks like a giraffe. There's lots of tracks going all sorts of different directions, so I actually did a long walk, try to see if I could find any tracks on the block. Unfortunately not. It's quite thick in there, lots of small drainage lines and Tumbuiti thickets, but probably, I don't know, early this morning, 5:30 I guess. Hoping that now they've might have moved out of the block again, but we've circled this block 3 times now, and I've walked through 2 different areas, but still no luck. But I'm very confident they're still in this area, so we're going to do one last little check around. Otherwise, I think after breakfast I'll come see if I can track them properly. It'll take some time, but till then, we have not given up. The last tracks we had in an area called the junction between the junction of Quarry Pan Road and Hippo Pools Road, and they've gone almost due west, the last track I can find, into the block between Drakensberger and Central and Quarry Pan Road. I'm just hoping they move out at some point. So there has been enough time for them to do some moving. So we're just going to keep checking slowly. Where did you see that other track, Brian? A little bit further up. And it's so possible they could be lying just out of sight, fat bellies on their backs. I don't think they caught whatever they were chasing. We would have definitely heard sort of, even if you don't hear them fighting like they would on a small kill, we would hear bone crunching and chewing, which we haven't heard. Terry from Santa Ana, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Terry would like to know, are female lions ever pushed out of the pride, and what would be the reasons? Terry, when female lions decide to move the pride, there are a couple of reasons. Sometimes the pride gets too big. So in certain areas where you can get a pride of 30 or 40 lions, they have to kill a lot of large animals to sustain that pride. So they will splinter into a smaller group off the main pride, that's more common in unusual circumstances, especially with there's sort of new coalition members taking over. Sometimes you'll find a female and her sub-adults will splinter off and move out of the area of the pride and sort of live on the peripheries. That is more unusual. Generally, it's when the prides get too big that they will split into a different pride, two prides. If they do meet, for the first while, it's not too aggressive. But sometimes, as the time apart and those relationships between the pride members start to be put under pressure, sort of a year or so, they might even fight. They've now sort of completely become separate prides. But that's not always. Most of the time, even if it's a split off the original pride, they will sort of not be the best of friends, but they will still have a sort of mutual understanding, and they won't fight, and they might share carcasses from time to time. There's a single lion track going this way, which is very strange. So it looks like a lioness. Standing by. Would you like me to check? I want to call the place now. There's tracks of it all over the place at the moment. I've now got a single track heading south on Drakensberger, where the rest of the track's headed west. I'm going to follow the single track for now, but I have no idea where these lines have gone at the moment. Excuse me for a second, I'm just checking this road very carefully. I think that track might have been just sort of playing around where they stepped at that junction before moving back to join the rest of the Pride, but we will definitely double and triple check. Like it's going to be a beautiful sunny day after a cold and overcast start. Clouds are disappearing quite nicely. Just wanted to check a little bit down here, make sure it didn't come this way. But for this afternoon, there's a very good chance, as it gets a little bit cooler, that those lines might move towards Buffelshoek Dam. That's the closest water to where we last had tracks. Natalie from California, welcome on Sunrise Safari. Natalie says she's noticed that the grass height is very different depending on where you're driving. Natalie, there's a combination of things that causes that. A lot of it's to do with grass type, and seep lines where water moves through the soil. So you'll notice we're coming out to a much more open area now on the left, where there's a different type of grass generally on the seep line, and certain grasses are tastier than others. So you'll see where the tasty grasses are, there's sort of shorter areas. This is on the edge of a seep line, so the reason I'm showing you here, it's much nicer and easier to show. So we can check that there's different heights of grass and sage and things in these areas, and that's from animals grazing. So certain grass species are sweeter, higher in starch. Just sorry guys, 1 second. Just stand by one. And there are areas that have been maintained by humans, and that's where in the past we have accidentally, through not knowing any better and bad management practices, possibly changed the system. So now there's a sort of program to rectify it and put it back to what it should be. But 90% of the area where the grass height differences is from different grass species and different grazing levels by the different herbivores or grazers. I've done Hippo Pools, Quarry Pan, and Central Round, Nyala Road, North. I came in from Buffelshoek. I've also done Buffelshoek Cutline to the Cutline, and I've not checked. I think I've checked all the roads in this general area. I'm checking Drakensberg a little bit further to the south now, but I think I might loop back towards Buffelshoek Dam a little bit later. But if you'd like to go check in that area, you're more than welcome to. guys, for those of you who might have joined us a bit late this morning, or we might be possibly a new viewer, I'm just going to give you a little recap of what we've been up to this morning. I heard a report of lions near our northern boundary, so I feel like I haven't seen lions in an age. So I hopped onto the boundary, we checked the northern boundary, there was nothing. We came along our eastern boundary and we found tracks of a pride. Difficult to say which pride, but just generally from where the Nkuhuma pride was left to the north of us yesterday and the lion's territory, I'm pretty certain this is more than likely the Nkuhuma pride. So we followed the tracks, they're nice and fresh. We got to an area where they've chased something. I think it looks like a giraffe, and so the tracks become quite difficult to follow in that area. And we've checked the block around a couple of times, and we haven't found anything. Just sorry guys, I'll be with you in a second. Sorry, go again please, Andrew. Okay, copy. I'm going to be making my way. I'm on Cheetah Cut Line Junction with Mamba at the moment. So guys, what happens is that when we're tracking animals like this, sorry, I just picked up a branch that we work as a team. So I just need to listen to the radio for a bit. Have to bear with me, I'm going to go a bit quickly for a couple of minutes. Andrew, what's my best access? If I'm coming from Cheetah Cut Line, confirm it would be Hippo Pools Road. Thanks very much, Andrew. Sneaky lions! They've crossed right behind us over the top of our tracks at Buffelshoek Dam, where we've just been checking. So Andrew's found them. So we're going to shoot there as quick as possible, see and have a look at them. Yay! So as I was explaining, so when we do track animals, oh sorry, let's make sure. When we do track animals, so Andrew's been in the area giving us a hand, Scott was also, so we're checking as many roads as possible simultaneously, which increases our chances for finding. So it's very much a team effort when it comes to finding animals. So this is where we first found their tracks. So I'm going to go a bit faster than normal so we can get to the lions as soon as possible. If anyone's got a few questions before we get to the lions, this might be a nice time while I'm just driving to send them in. For those of you who might be new, you can email me questions using the email address questions@WildEarthTV, or if you're on Twitter, you can just use the hashtag SafariLive. Brian, lions! Happy days! I feel like I haven't seen lions in an absolute age. It's a beautiful morning, still nice and cool, nice lights coming out. Oh, it's nice when a good plan comes together. as I was saying before Andrew called to say it found them, I was saying, well, it's a very strong possibility that they're going to head towards Buffalo Dam because it's the closest water, and we were going to do one last loop in that area, but lucky for us, Andrew's done the hard work for us this morning. Morning, Faye from Canada. Faye would like to know, are there many duikers and steenboks in the Djuma area? Yes, there are, Faye. We see them quite regularly. Unfortunately, with a lot of those smaller antelope species that are quite heavily predated by things like leopards and wild dog, even when we stop to try and get the camera on them, they disappear quite sharply. So yes, there are quite a few, and we do see them often, but it is difficult to get a nice clear shot of one. And there's a hippo that wasn't here 10 minutes ago. Andrew, confirm which direction I should come. I'm on the northeastern side of the dam. Negative, I've come into the Shkova on the eastern side.
You gotta be on the behind the dam wall, just by the end of the dam wall there, just that you know of it. You just have to come along that road.
Copy, I'll be there in 30 seconds. At the dam, I'm just trying to find where Andrew is now. Should be able to see him from somewhere around here. So I think what I last heard is that those lions try to copy on the eastern or western side of the dam. Confirm on the eastern road that comes into the dam or the western road.
Coming along that road, leading off from that southern end of the dam wall.
Copy. On the side that Hippo Pools Road joins with.
Negative. Right. So, as you go to the boundary.
Confirm. Okay, just trying to figure out where it is. Oh, hold on. Bounce, bounce. Guys, we're just going to go through a little bit of a bad signal spot as we go through this drainage line, but we'll pop out on the other side in a matter of seconds. Should be with these lines in about 30 seconds. And we have found them. So it's amazing that literally we were here 15 minutes ago and they've walked on top of our vehicle tracks. Is the motor going to pull her?
Yeah, already some of them went down to the mud. Thought maybe you bump on them on the road.
Oh yeah, copy. I think I'm also going to join you down at the mighty. So we can have a look through there. There's some of the lines there, but there's other lines that have moved down to the dam to drink. So I think we're going to try get in a position to see the lines drinking. We're going to come back to where they are here shortly. We're just going to go see them drink quickly because that looks like a few of them are going to move down towards the water. Morning, Andrew. Thank you very much for. Hey, they've been on me. See them on top of my tracks there?
Yeah. But I'm not sure if they found it dead or they killed it. I don't know.
Okay.
But the thing is they're feeding on it.
Yeah. Thanks, Andrew.
Thank you.
So guys, I'm just gonna, from what I've just heard from Andrew, they're feeding on a hippo carcass. Looks like a small one. I'm just gonna have a very quick look, and then we're gonna shoot down to the ones drinking. So it looks like most of the pride are drinking. There's only 2 lionesses here. So such beautiful light. It's going to be really nice to see them on the water. But we will definitely come right back here once we've finished watching them drinking. It looks like quite a young hippo. Difficult to say whether they killed it or found it. But either is a happy day for a lion. Lions are quite lazy. If they can find a dead hippo, it's far better than having to catch one. Which is also good news for us. We should have lions for a day or two at least. Young males down here at the water. The others are on their way down. but the sun's in a bit of a bad spot for us, so I'm just going to squeak. Oh, he's on the move. Just going to move around to the other side of him so we get the light in the right place. Good morning, Christine from New Jersey. Welcome on Sunrise Safari with us this morning. Christine would like to know how many lions are in this pride and are there any cubs. Christine, at the moment there are no cubs as far as I'm aware. There are used to be 8 lions in the Nkuhuma pride. This is the young male we just saw there at the water's edge. But it looks like he's on his way back to the buffalo carcass now. Hippo carcass. Thank you, Brian. So we're going to have lots of fat lions around, sleeping under bushes. They are quite spread out, so I'm not sure whether the whole pride is here. Sometimes the prides do get split. So, looks like everyone is quite full. Just going to see where she stops to feed again. So we've only seen 4 out of a possible 8 lions so far. None of them have young cubs at the moment. There are some sub-adults that are just over a year old. Copy, thanks very much, Andrew. This is very, very fresh, probably early hours of this morning. As I said, it's quite difficult to know whether the hippos died of natural causes or they've killed it. It's quite a strong possibility that they might have killed a young hippo of that size. Difficult to see exactly how old it is, but probably it's a sub-adult hippo. And you can actually see the big thick layer of subcutaneous fat that a hippo has. We'll have a look at that a bit closely just a little bit later. Now, this is a wonderful meal for lions. You can see this probably happened early this morning, just judging from all the scuff marks around. And just from the amount of scuff marks, I would say they probably did kill it themselves. And the fight that would ensued when they first started eating would have been quite a sight. Probably gonna move this carcass at some point in the day. It is quite open in the sun. I'd drag it into some shade. There are the rest of the sleeping cats. You can barely see them sleeping in the shade to the right of the carcass. I'm just suddenly looking around trying to figure out where the rest of the pride was, and you can barely see them sleeping under a bush. Looks like she's opening up the stomach there, so eating the stomach lining, just like we would eat tripe, except we prefer ours a bit cooked.
And less stomach contents.
And less stomach contents present at the same time, yes. But you can see from the inside of the cavity they've eaten all the sort of good stuff already. Heart, liver, kidneys, all the things that have quite a lot of minerals in it. There's still quite a lot of meat on here. So it's possible that that hippo that we saw in the dam that just arrived, that wasn't there earlier when we came through, could be this hippo's mother. I didn't have a close look at it. I didn't see whether it was a male or female. But if it was its mother, it would have definitely tried to defend a calf of this size against predators. But there are 8 lions, so it can be quite difficult being a mother out here in the bush. But if you guys hear that clicking, it's just me taking a few photographs, so don't worry if you find the noise. Like we do with tanning oil, I suppose. But it is quite and that was happening up until 100 years ago at least, and in certain parts of Africa I'm sure it still does happen, where hippo fat is quite a highly sought after commodity. I mean, see how strong that lion is. I mean, there's still probably 500 pounds or so weight, 600 pounds even, when we try to do my conversions. Yeah, about 600 pounds of weight still there. And you see she moves that whole carcass when she pulls. She's using her paw there to move some of the stomach contents out of the way. So basically that stomach contents there is just undigested grasses. And see how she turns her head to the side when she's got to get through that thick skin of the hippo? Oh, she looks like she might be wanting to move it. Look at the power of that. Oh, disappearing lion. Let me just move the vehicle quickly so we can see what's going on. Oh, let's hang on a second. Hippos do have quite a high mortality rate from just being hippos. They fight a lot, and young ones quite often get stuck in between. But I'm going to try and have a look to see if we can figure out what happened to this one, whether it was killed by the lions. I've got a feeling it was. See what she's going to do now is she's going to try bury that stomach content, that undigested grass, and that is an attempt to try and mask the smell, to keep the hyenas from finding it. Although I think hyenas have got such a good sense of smell that it might be a bit of a waste of time. It'll be quite interesting to see if the hyenas do come here this evening, because I'm definitely going to be back here to see what happens later on. I'm trying to see on the back of that hippo whether we can see whether it's got claw marks from being jumped on by lions, or we can see a noticeable wound that might have been caused by another hippo. I'm just using my camera to get a closer look at certain things. So So I mean, they've been eating for a while, and you can see they're not that full yet. So it tells us this carcass is very fresh. And you see that other lioness who's just arrived. She's still got quite a bit of blood on her face, so she's back for round 2. So really trying to mask the smell, cover the stomach content. That one thing that makes me possibly doubt it was lions is if we... Oh, let's just watch her berry. Stomach content. Now, leopards do this as well. A lot of cats will try mask the smell of where they've made a kill and cover up the stomach content. Might even get some help. There we go. Teamwork, girls. You can see, not designed for digging, not the most effective when it comes to scratching around sand. Now you see where that second lioness is sniffing there. I can't really see too well what that hole is, but that is one thing that might make me think it might not be lions and it might be an injury from another hippo. But I will have a closer look when the ladies allow me the opportunity to. Oh, there's such amazingly beautiful animals. The muscle definition is incredible. Now this is quite an open area where they've killed this hippo, so there's a strong possibility that the vultures might descend at some point during the day. But I think they might drag this hippo into a slightly thicker area where it's going to be harder for the vultures to see it. But even here, just being so open in this general area, it might not work. See, now she's covering up some of the blood spots from when it would have opened up the carcass first. Again, trying to mask the smell. So guys, if you guys have any questions, please feel free to send them in. You can do that by emailing us on questions@WildEarthTV, or if you're on Twitter, you can just use the hashtag SafariLive. It's a very strange one to put your foot between two trees and then try to pull the sand through. Good morning, Rome and Tanda. Rome and Tanda are asking, how would a lion bring down a hippo? Would they strangle it? Panda, sorry. Rome and Panda. Basically like they would any other animal. A hippo this size would be easier to strangle. A bigger hippo, not so much. Even with this, they probably would bite and wait for blood loss to take effect. The animal's too weak to defend itself. What happens quite often when lions do kill large prey is that it is not a very, if you're very sensitive, it's not a very nice thing to watch, because quite often they'll start feeding while those animals are still alive. Oh, they're really trying to master the smell today. welcome back, Virginia. Virginia is like, would like to know, because lions, or the hippo, sorry, doesn't have any fur, would the lions eat the skin? They would if they were very hungry, but quite often they will eat pieces of the skin and then leave the skin. It is still quite tough and rough, and probably not the most appetizing. But I've seen lions that are very hungry. They definitely would eat the skin. Okay, well, I think the ladies are going to head down to drink, so I think we'll go try get there to the water before them, and then we'll come back and inspect the carcass while the lions are lying up further from it, to see if we can figure out whether it's a natural death or a non-lion death. It could not be killed by another hippo, or maybe it was in bad condition. But judging from the amount of subcutaneous fats and stuff we could see, I don't think that the hippo was in particularly poor condition. So now we just need to see whether it was another hippo that might have done the damage, or it was the lions. My suspicion at the moment, but I'm not 100% sure till I've been there a bit, I had a bit of a closer look, is that it was actually the lions and not another hippo. Oh, lion jam. Just gonna give me a second, guys. I'm gonna try shoot around to get to the lions drinking. We might drop signal for a tiny second as I drop into the drainage line, but it'll be worth it once we get around and have a wonderful view of those girls having a drink. Lights on the right side as well. Just enjoy this for a few seconds. You can definitely see two different ages here. I was talking about the sub-adult, just over a year old now. That's the lioness on the right. The one on the left is an adult. The adult females in this pride range from about, as far as I understand, from about 5 to 8 years old, from what I've been told by the other guides. You'll notice how they're drinking in a very small little area rather than out the main edge of the dam. Lion and leopard, you'll notice, do that very often, and the reason for this is it'd be very difficult for a crocodile to grab a lion from there, but if they were drinking at one of the other parts of the dam, it would be much easier for a crocodile if it wanted to feed off there or try catch a lion. Okay, so drink's over. Looks like they're going to go sleep in the shade, a little bit away from the carcass. Some hello grooming quite important, as I said, for lions to maintain those bonds between the pride members. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 down here next to the dam, which means there must be 3 still lying up around the carcass. So we got the young male, one of the little sub-adults, and looks like 3 adult females. And it definitely looks like the young male's eaten more than anyone else. And you just look at his general, oh, I'm so full, it's hot, heavy breathing. Also the size of his belly. And because even though he is young, he is physically already much larger than his mothers and aunts. So he will take the lion's share of a carcass, and especially in the beginning, he will beat up everyone else because he's bigger, enabling him to get more food. But if you're a lion, you're in a pretty good spot at the moment. Got water right here, got meat just up the hill. Happy days. No adult male with them, even though we did have adult male tracks this morning. But if there is an adult male around and he heard, if they caught that and they heard, oh, there we go. Well, we got to fight. So fast asleep. What happened? If they heard the pride taking down that hippo, they'll definitely be on their way into this area to get their share. And we'll go have a look. Let's just sit and watch this female grooming the sub-adult for a bit, then we'll go have a look at the carcass again. Good morning, Blair from New Zealand. Welcome on the sunrise. I think he would have played a decent sized role. He is that much bigger and heavier than the lionesses, so he might have definitely played a role. At this age, with bigger prey species, he will definitely, with things like buffalo and hippo and giraffe, he will definitely start playing a bigger hunting role. Hippo is a really nice meal for a pride of lions. So everyone's very happy today. Good morning, David from Michigan. David saying from where we found them now, we must have driven past them earlier. Why are there no alarm calls from squirrels and birds? David probably says there aren't any squirrels or birds in that area, and at that specific time. But if a squirrel or bird was close by and saw them, would definitely alarm call. It's possible they've been here for an hour or two, so they've already been alarm called at and the other animals have moved away. That sub-adult looks like it's very much enjoying the groom. Very much enjoying that. Very important in terms of keeping the bonds of the pride strong, especially because of the way lions feed. When they do get food, they literally go at each other like you have no idea. It's each for their own, fighting, biting, scratching. So after those moments of madness, to keep the pride bond strong, there'll be a lot of this grooming. There's no stress now. They don't have to worry about finding food. They've got food. They're next to water. So there'd be probably more grooming than you would normally get if they were hungry. See how she watches the sky every now and then. Very, very fast in terms of a lot of vultures. Make sure checking for vultures. I'm glad to just be like vultures to that are going to not check that. So this is guy make sure that there is not of vulture flies. But I'm pretty sure vultures are going to find that carcass eventually, sometime today. Okay, well, so should we go have a quick look at that, the actual hippo carcass, see if we can work out whether it was them or possibly another hippo. Jerry from Maryland, welcome on the Sunrise Safari. It's very difficult to be 100% sure that that's the mother, but it is a hippopotamus lying right opposite where the lions are, in the same area as that carcass. But it's difficult to see whether that is a female or a young male. And that hippo wasn't in the dam when we came through earlier, so it is quite difficult to predict. Anyway, let's go look at that hippo carcass. Fat cats. Lions spread through the bush, heading back towards the carcass. So we know we've got 3 down there. There's a 4th one lying here in the shade. Found some nice shade there. Lying up still close to the carcass, but a little bit further away. So that's number 4. Whoops, sorry, Brian. And now we're going to have a look at the carcass and also check if we can see the rest of the pride. So, nice to see the Nkuhumas again. They are the pride of lions we probably see the most of, although they have seemed to have been avoiding us for a while. But so really nice to have them back. Let's check. Is anyone actually at the carcass? No lions at the carcass, so we can go a little bit closer to have a look to see if we can figure out what exactly happened. And there's the other 3 lions. Got a shot there. Do I need to turn a bit wider?
No, you turn a bit.
Turn a bit wider. How's that look? There we go. So you can see what we're looking at there is where the ears would have been. That would have been one of the first things. And if you go further down on its nose, I'm seeing quite a few scratches and things like that. But with a hippo's skin being so thick, and there are just normally a lot of scratches on a hippo's skin, the fact that makes me think it was the lions. If you go, there we go, that sort of bottom of the shot there, there's some scratches there, and the blood is coagulated in it. So that probably means that the animal was alive when those scratches were made, which leads me to sort of think that this hippo was killed by the Pride Lions. So still lots of meat left. Still a young hippo, but it's still a lot of meat. You can actually have a proper look at a hippo's foot, which is not something you get to do quite often. And you see it there. Let me go back a little bit. The one behind the head is going to be the best. There. So there we go. You can see 4 toes. So you can see a very, very distinct shape of the hippo's foot, and hippo's tracks are very distinct with those 4 toes when we do see them when we're moving around. But also, you can see a little bit, not so much here, but how thick a hippo's skin is. And an adult hippo can be as thick as so 5-6 centimeters, maybe even a bit more than that. So there's a very thick layer of skin, but the main thickness is caused by the subcutaneous fat layer. But he's going to be some very happy lions. This will probably last them until tomorrow afternoon, just judging about how much they've fed on and how much meat is left. But that's if the hyenas don't come and start mobbing them. There's no male lion here, and we do have quite a nice large hyena population on Djuma, so they could get enough support to sort of really give these lions a hard time around this carcass. Okay, guys, while we're going to sit here, we're going to stay in this area, see what's going. We're just going to cross across to Scotty quickly to hear what he's been up to, and then we'll come back here and see what the lions are doing. I don't think they're going to be doing too much with those big fat bellies, but anyway, it's always great to look at lions, even when they are full and fat and sleeping. A lion is still an incredible animal, so enjoy whatever Scotty's got for you.
Welcome back, everyone, and well done to Brent on tracking down those lion for all of you. How bizarre, it's not often that lion in this area catch hippos, so a really unique experience for all of you to share with Brent, and good prospects because I'm sure those lion will still be there for a while. It sounds like there's still a lot of meat to feed on, so good news for lion viewing over the next couple of days. We continued searching for Karula's footprints and managed to find where we lost the last tracks. She crossed a riverbed and then continued very close to where Brent was following up on tracks of the lion. In that area, I can't establish where she has headed to, but she was only about 100 meters or so from our eastern boundary and could well have crossed into the eastern property next door to us. Anyway, we'll follow up this afternoon, and at least we've got a better idea of where she's ended up. Anyway, a big thank you from myself as well as VM and everyone in Final Control. Thanks for following, and we'll see you this afternoon. Back to Brent with the lions and the hippo.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm just going to head back down to those other lions that are lying next to the dam. Nice and out in the open. They're doing a bit of grooming. So a bit better than looking at the three fat cats we've got here who are fast asleep. And we've had a nice good look at the carcass. It'll be interesting to see as that carcass sort of disappears and what's left and how we can actually have a look at that hippo's anatomy as the carcass gets smaller, and maybe we'll be able to have a better look at the skin and stuff this afternoon. They might have moved the carcass a little bit. Obviously I don't want to drive everywhere around. There's lions sleeping all over the place. I don't want to disturb them, so we'll go down to the guys are out in the open. That one of them stood up and actually walked straight towards us. So here comes one of the lionesses heading back up towards the carcass very slowly. Nice fat belly. And there should be another 3 still lying down there. Christine, and welcome on the Sunrise Safari. Christine would like to know how long it would take a pride of this size to finish that hippo if no other predator steals it. I would probably say they might be finished by tomorrow evening sometime, maybe the next morning. See, let's go. Oh, very tired male lion. It's amazing how much his mane has grown even in the last couple of months. Definitely getting to that point where he might not be welcome too soon in this area. thanks for another question this morning, Virginia. Virginia would like to know whether the hippo that's behind us would be afraid to leave the water because the lions are around. Virginia, you'll probably find that hippo will move off on the other side of the dam. At the moment, oh, I can't see it, it's underwater somewhere. At the moment, it knows it's very safe where it is. And also, you'll notice a lot of animals can pick up on other animal behavior. So like a full lion doesn't actually pose too much of a threat unless you stumble onto it. But I think the hippo will just use a different access far away from the lions. You can see how big this young boy's paws are getting. I think he's going to be a big male one day. And there's that big fat belly. Yeah, just cleaning after feeding. Lying in the shed, belly full of hippo. Good morning, George from Florida. George would like to know, would the pride band together to defend the hippo carcass from hyenas? Most definitely, George, but the hyenas would also call in other hyenas, and I secretly hope for a bit of hyena-lion interaction this evening, so we'll definitely be checking up on that. But yes, they would, George. So guys, it's been finally a successful morning. We had an interesting morning of tracking. They chased something which we think was a giraffe, but quite far from here. So there was a lot of confusion trying to figure out where the tracks were. Scotty and Andrew came into the area to help me, and we'd driven the other side of the dam twice this year, but we hadn't driven on this western side. And then Andrew came in on the road, and he luckily saw the hippo carcass from the road, and he called us in. We were just down the road, still looking for the lions. But it's going to be quite exciting watching this sort of drama unfold over the next few days. We've got lions on the hippo carcass. Hopefully we might see some interaction with hyenas coming in. That will be really, really amazing to watch. And other than that, it's been a fantastic morning. I've really, really enjoyed having you all here. Thanks very much for all the questions. We really do appreciate it. And from all of us here at Wild Earth, we hope you have a fantastic day, wherever you might be. And for the last few seconds, I'm sure you'd much rather look at a lion.